Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Battle Through the Heavens Part 263 based on novel. So let's start. Creating a Do-D. The air seemed to have solidified under Zhu Kuan's words. Even Xiao Yan could only widen his mouth. He was stunned as he looked at Xiao Yan in front of him. The atmosphere had solidified for a long while. Only then did it show signs of easing up. After experiencing a lost feeling of one's head ceasing to work, everyone had finally recovered. Everyone felt it was a little ridiculous. Creating a Do-D? Even though these words had originated from Zhu Kuan's mouth, it still lacked trustworthiness. The whole world had not produced a single elite Do-D during these tens of thousands of years. This allowed everyone to understand that the legendary level was too far to imagine. You are joking, right? Yang Jin widened his mouth. His voice had involuntarily become a little dry. Although his words contained a feeling of complete disbelief, some hope still rose within his heart for some unknown reason when he spoke. Currently, the situation of the Alliance army could be described as being backed into a corner. Once Hunchendi advanced to the Do-D class, they would lose all opportunity. That level was already something that human strength could not resist. If Zhu Kuan was speaking the truth, it would be possible to turn this inevitable situation around. Elder Zhu Kuan, now is not the time for jokes. Xiao Yan hesitated for a moment as he chose his words with discretion and said, if Zhu Kuan really had such a method, he would not end up remaining at that level for such a long time. Xiao Yan did not speak. All he did was to stare intently at Zhu Kuan as he attempted to hear an explanation that could confirm those words. Zhu Kuan involuntarily parted his lips after seeing everyone's doubtful eyes. He said, all of you can be rest assured that I do not have the mood to fool around with all of you. It is really a blessing from the heavens that it is possible for our side to also produce an elite Do-D. Can you give a clearer explanation? Xiao Yan's hand shook as he asked. Zhu Kuan slowly lifted his head. His eyes looked towards the heavenly flame square that he had brought out from the ancient god mansion. After being quiet for a moment, he finally said, actually, the D-tier embryonic pill is not the most precious item within the ancient god mansion. Is Elder Zhu Kuan referring to that thing? Xiao Yan fell into a deep thought. His finger pointed towards the heavenly flame square floating in the sky and said, otherwise, do you think that I have decided to spend a great effort to bring such a big thing out for fun just because I have too much free time? Zhu Kuan rolled his eyes. He waved his sleeve and the space fluctuated. The area in front of everyone's eyes became dazzled. They had already appeared above the huge heavenly flame square when they appeared. Xiao Yan's eyes swept over those heavenly flame pillars around the square. However, he failed to detect any energy ripple. He looked all over the place before pausing his eyes on the 100,000 feet stone statue. In what way is this strange? Lei Ying by the side did not discover anything after searching for a moment. Finally, he could not resist asking. Zhu Kuan stood with his hands behind him. He lifted his head and his eyes looked at the mountain-like stone statue. He said, are you aware of the origin of the Tushi ancient god, or rather its identity? Everyone was startled upon hearing this. They exchanged glances with each other before shaking their heads quietly. The Tushi ancient god was someone from a completely different era. They had only read about the name Tushi ancient god on the ancient text. All of them were totally ignorant of his background and identity. According to what I know, the Tushi ancient god was extremely mysterious. No one knew of its origin. There had been many experts from the continent back then. Many individuals standing at the peak had done their best to break into the Do-D class. However, none of them ultimately succeeded. Yet, at that time, a completely unknown Tushi ancient god had appeared. Hu Yuan had an expression of deep thought as Ji recalled the extremely old records within the tribe. It was rumored that two suns appeared in the sky and the world crumbled when the Tushi ancient god advanced into the Do-D class. An endless sea of fire descended from the sky. It enveloped half of the Do-Chi continent and stirred all the experts at that time. However, after experiencing the earth-shaking scene from when he advanced into the Do Di class, the Chushi ancient god once again vanished. Moreover, according to common sense, those in the clan whom he had a blood relation towards should also have their bloodline strength being activated. Their strength should soar to a relatively terrifying level within a short period of time. Those who have the first-generation Do Di bloodline would be blessed with the greatest benefit. Hence, if a new ancient clan had appeared, it would definitely turn the Do-Chi continent into an uproar. However, this did not occur. In other words, the Chushi ancient gods did not have many clan members. Perhaps there aren't anyone who possess a bloodline similar to his. Xiao Yan frowned and said. The entire Do-Chi continent viewed the continuation of one's bloodline as extremely important. This was especially the case for these top experts. They greatly wanted their bloodline to continue. However, why was it that the Chushi ancient god was all alone? This should be the case. However, we cannot exclude the possibility of no one discovering them. Gu nodded. He looked at Shukun and said, "Is what I have said correct?" "It is more or less correct." Shukun placed both of his hands behind him. He looked at the huge stone statue and suddenly changed the topic. There are a total of 33 types of heavenly flames on the heavenly flame ranking. They are the strongest flames in this world. However, do you know what is the name of the heavenly flame ranked first on the heavenly flame ranking? Xiao Yang's heart shook. Forget about the others, even he, who had a great understanding of the heavenly flame, did not know anything about this heavenly flame that was ranked first on the heavenly flame ranking. This was because the first-ranked heavenly flame did not have a name to begin with. There were 23 heavenly flames on the heavenly flame ranking. However, the first position was completely blank. No one knew just what the first-ranked heavenly flame was. However, the strange thing was that many alchemists had some vague instinct that there should indeed be something existing above the nihility devouring flame. However, they were unaware of what it was. That first-ranked heavenly flame was a puzzle. It was extremely mysterious and unfathomable. No one had ever seen it. Is Elder Zhukun aware of what is the first-ranked heavenly flame on the heavenly flame ranking? Xiao Yang involuntarily asked. A strange smile was lifted on Zhukun's face after he heard this. He said, "Where is there a first-ranked heavenly flame in this world?" This answer caused everyone to be stunned. They frowned as they attempted to refute the answer. However, they suddenly discovered that they seemed to be unaware of what the first-ranked heavenly flame was. Could it be that the so-called top heavenly flame was merely a legend? All living creatures have their own souls. It is also the same for a heavenly flame. Shukun also appeared to be aware of the shock within everyone's heart. He slowly said, "Based on what I know, there was once a heavenly flame that was formed in this world. It was created in 1,000 years, gained a soul after 10,000 years and trained for a seemingly endless long time. This had caused it to be mutated slightly. Everyone is aware that heavenly flames that were mutated would seldom take the initiative to leave the place it was created. However, this flame was different. After possessing intelligence, it traveled in the direction of the magma, roaming the underground for 1,000 years and devour flames to survive. The flames that it devoured all had a ranking on the heavenly flame ranking. All 21 types were eaten by it. Devouring energy, it seems that only the nihility devouring flame is able to achieve it, right?" Xiao Yang hesitated before speaking. The heavenly flames was just like a shrunken version of a human country. Even though one is born a noble and possess a high position, there was still a possibility that one could be overturned. Eating each other is a kind of instinct to heavenly flames. Normally speaking, however, most of the time, it is the stronger eating the weaker. Shukun sighed and said. This was also the unique aspect of this flame. It knew how to quickly strengthen itself while avoiding the danger when devouring flames. It consumed the weaker first. After spending an extremely long time, after devouring 20 different heavenly flames, even the natural overlords like the nihility devouring flame and the purifying demonic flame could only prostrate to him. Xiao Yang involuntarily inhaled a breath of cold air after hearing until this point. It was extremely difficult to find heavenly flames in this world. Just what kind of concept swallowing 20 heavenly flames was? If it was a human, even if one could find these heavenly flames, who would dare to swallow these 20 extremely violent heavenly flames? Even the current Xiao Yan would likely have difficulty performing such a thing. Does Elder Zhu Kun mean, the so-called number one on the heavenly flame ranking does not have its own unique name? Instead, whoever can overcome the restraint and emerge from the cruel heavenly flame devourment would be considered the top of the heavenly flame ranking? Xiao Yan also seemed to have understood this as he verified. This is the logic. However, the swallowing of heavenly flames would likely result in the two types of heavenly flames coming into conflict with each other, which result in self-destruction. Hence, only by being able to successfully survive after devouring the other 21 types of heavenly flames will enable that flame to be qualified as the number one heavenly flame. Zhu Kun said. Xiao Yang nodded quietly. Using the flame mantra to refine the heavenly flame was already extremely dangerous. Even less needed to be said if one had to use one's own ability to swallow heavenly flames. The chances of failure was far too great. Yet, that heavenly flame was able to remain alive after devouring all the other 21 types of heavenly flames. It must be said that this itself was a miracle that one could not believe. It was likely that one would be unable to find many examples of such an occurrence even in the entire history of the Dochi continent. It is unexpected that the top heavenly flame on the heavenly flame ranking actually has such a secret to it. Everyone sighed softly. Clearly, this was the first time that they were aware that the so-called first-ranked heavenly flame did not refer to some unique flame. Instead, it was the ultimate heavenly flame formed by merging the 22 types of heavenly flames. After that heavenly flame succeeded, he referred to himself as the Flame God. He subsequently trained for thousands of years before appearing in this world. Zhu Kun's eyes had a complicated expression surging within them after he spoke until this point. After that god flame broke into the world, he also gained another title on the Dochi continent. Zhu Kun let out a deep breath of air. He stared at the 100,000 feet large ancient god stone statue in front of him. His soft muttering voice was like a thunder that exploded beside the ears of Xiao Yang's group, causing them to immediately become stunned. At that time, people call him the Chushi Ancient God. The Chushi Ancient God is the heavenly flame ranked first on the heavenly flame ranking. The heavenly flame square had once again become completely silent. The expressions of everyone had become unusually interesting. Clearly, they were shaken by this extremely unbelievable information to the point where they could not recover. Zhu Kun was also aware of the shock in everyone's heart. He did not speak. All he did was to lift his head and look at the huge stone statue. His expression was somewhat complicated. No one could imagine that the last elite Dodi on this Dochi continent was neither a human nor a magical beast. Instead, it was a flame born in the world. Suddenly, someone violently swallowed a mouthful of saliva on the quiet square. The remaining individuals had also begun to wake one after another. All of them exchanged glances. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. Brother Zhu Kun, is what you say the truth? Gu Yuan's steadiness had also diminished because of the shock. He inhaled a couple of deep breaths and said, "If we count by age, all of you can be considered to be from my grandson's generation. Who else on this continent but me would be clearly aware of these ancient information?" Zhu Kun laughed. Everyone laughed bitterly upon hearing this. Zhu Kun did not need to lie to them. Hence, their hearts had gradually begun to accept this unbelievable reality after their initial shock. However, how is this related to the matter of advancing to the Do-D class that you have talked about? Gu Yuan lifted his eyes and dragged the topic back to the most important. Regardless of the origin of the Chushi ancient god, the most important thing that they needed to be concerned about now was how to fight with Hunchendi. There are two things within the ancient god mansion that are most precious. One is that DT embryonic pill that Hunchendi had obtained. The second is, Zhu Kun paused for a moment after speaking until this point. His eyes stared intently at the 100,000 feet tall stone statue in front of him. He spoke with a pause between every word, the D-essence that the Chushi ancient god had left behind. D-essence? Everyone's heart shook as they muttered. It can also be considered the inheritance from the Tushi ancient god. This is the most valuable thing within the ancient god mansion. Compared to this, the DT embryonic pill is a little inferior. Shukuan laughed. If we are able to obtain this D essence, we will also be able to produce a Do D. At that time, so what if Hunchendi managed to break through to the Do D class by relying on the D tier medicinal pill? Everyone's eyes suddenly brightened upon hearing this. It was indeed the case where one would find a way out after reaching the end. Originally, they had thought that they had already lost any ability to resist. Who could imagine that a possible turnaround had appeared? Where is the D essence? How can we obtain this inheritance? Gu Yuan's face was flashing with excitement. However, he sensed that something was wrong after he spoke. He hurriedly spoke, "Brother Shukuan, please do not misunderstand. We will not have learnt of this if you have not told us. The one who has the greatest qualification to obtain this inheritance is definitely you. Our aim is only to fight the Hun clan. We do not wish to snatch anything." Gu Yuan was aware in his heart that if Shukuan was speaking the truth, the D essence would be a priceless valuable object with nothing that could compare with it. Everyone in this world would convert such a strength. He was worried that his words earlier would lead to Shukuan thinking that he also converted the D essence. There is no need for you to speak in this manner. I will not be so courteous to give the opportunity to you if I am able to obtain the D essence. Instead, I would have long since refined and absorb it. Shukuan laughed bitterly upon saying this. How can one obtain the Tushi ancient god's inheritance in such a simple manner? I have spent all my effort during this period of time but had ended up gaining nothing. Gu Yuan was startled. He hesitated for a moment and said, "May I know where is this D essence?" Shukuan walked towards the stone statue. He patted it with his hand and said, "It is inside. However, no one can enter it. Even if the both of us were to attack with our full strength, we will not be able to break this stone statue." The group surrounded the statue upon hearing this. They touched the ancient god stone statue. Although it felt rough, there was no unique feeling from it. No matter how they touched, it appeared just like an ordinary stone. Bang! Lei Ying by the side touched the stone statue before his fist violently smashed onto it. A loud sound appeared. However, Xiao Yan and the rest were stunned to see Lei Ying's body flying backwards by thousands of feet before stabilizing. It is indeed a little strange. Everyone no longer had any doubts upon seeing this scene. Lei Ying's punch could shatter even mountains. However, it did not cause even the slightest destruction after landing on the stone statue. Instead, he had been sent flying backwards in such a miserable fashion. This was not an ordinary occurrence. This stone statue is protected by the DI essence. A surprise flashed across Gu Yuan's face. They were actually unable to discover the unique aspect of this stone statue back at the Do Di mansion. I? Shukuan nodded. He spoke somewhat helplessly. The D essence is hidden inside the stone statue. However, we are unable to break the stone and obtain it. There should be some unique method. Gu Yuan frowned and said, "Perhaps." Shukuan shook his head. He mused for a moment before speaking. Moreover, this D essence is not something that anyone can simply absorb. One might suffer a backlash if one is careless. Since that Tushi ancient god is a heavenly flame, it is likely that someone close to the heavenly flames will end up suffering less rejection. Everyone was startled upon hearing those words. Their eyes turned towards Xiao Yan in Yushan. Xiao Yan was undoubtedly the best person present in terms of familiarity and closeness to heavenly flames. Xiao Yan is indeed suitable. His purifying demonic lotus flame has already formed a fire spirit. His chances of success is the highest. Gu Yuan nodded and said. Xiao Yan was startled upon seeing that the topic of the conversation had suddenly been turned towards him. He immediately laughed bitterly. "I think that it might be better to discuss about this matter after we extract the D essence from inside this thing." Everyone smiled upon hearing this. They quickly knitted their brows as they thought of various possible methods. However, none of them have a good solution after thinking for a while. One must first break the stone statue in order to obtain the essence. However, the stone statue is protected by the essence. Even Xiao Yan and Zhu Kuan were helpless against it. In this way, it had formed a dead knot that could not be undone. Xiao Yan also revealed an expression of deep thought. However, he did not manage to get anywhere. He was planning on giving up when a pink fire seedling wiggled on his shoulder. Little Yi flashed and appeared. The appearance of Little Yi was a little different this time around. Its small face had a rapidly changing expression as it stared at the stone statue. Those emotions caused it to appear completely different from before. Xiao Yan was slightly startled as he looked at this manner of Little Yi. After learning of the identity of the Tushi ancient god, Xiao Yan also understood that it was likely that the Tushi ancient god back then had once swallowed the purifying demonic lotus flame. Hence, it was likely that there was quite a great grudge between the two. I am able to open the stone statue, Little Yi's soft voice suddenly said. It had instantly attracted all the eyes present. Zhu Kuan and Xiao Yan immediately appeared beside Xiao Yan. Their eyes were staring intently at Little Yi. Little Yi, you all right? Xiao Yan asked in a worried manner. The current Little Yi seemed to have recalled some extremely distant memories. Yes. Little Yi nodded. Its flabby little face once again revealed a smile that was similar to the past. Xiao Yan only sighed in relief after seeing this. He said, in that case, please give it a try. There is no need to force yourself if you cannot do it. Little Yi nodded again. It stared at the stone statue and its small body suddenly rose into the sky. Finally, it was suspended at the heart of the stone statue as everyone watched. An intense purifying demonic lotus flame suddenly spread hurriedly from within Little Yi's body as it rose into the air. Finally, it turned into a flame-like pillar that shot towards the heart of the stone statue. After this light was shot out, the 100,000 feet tall stone statue suddenly emitted waves of strange ripples, which spread out in a circular fashion. Everyone's faces revealed a joyous expression after seeing the stone statue, which had remained untouched regardless of what they did, revealed such a change. The stone statue trembled with increased frequency. At the end, one could hear a creaking sound from the movement of the stone statue. A hole was slowly cracked and formed on the chest of the stone statue. Suddenly a warm light spread within the hole. These light appeared like chiffon as it covered over the bodies over everyone present. Bang bang bang. After this warm light adhered onto their bodies, Lei Ying, Yang Jin and the rest suddenly became paled. Their legs directly knelt down. That scene was as though the layer of thin gentle light contained an enormous pressure. Xiao Yan's and Zhu Kuan's body beside Lei Ying's group were also bent slightly. Their bones emitted a cracking sound at this moment. Both of their faces had turned flush red. Boom boom. This kind of endurance did not last for a long time before the two of them were finally exhausted. A boom sounded and both of their legs landed on the ground. Only Xiao Yan, whose body was covered with a couple of different heavenly flames, was looking at everyone, who had become smaller, with a lost expression. Clearly, he did not understand why he did not feel that kind of terrifying pressure. This damned Tushi ancient god. Zhu Kuan's face was flush red. He clenched his teeth. However, his body appeared to have been pressed by a mountain, causing him to be unable to move. Xiao Yan laughed bitterly. He struggled helplessly before relaxing. It was not considered humiliating to be suppressed by an elite Dodi. The thin light swept over the square. After which, it began to slowly withdraw from Xiao Yan and the others. It turned into a light ray that enveloped around Xiao Yan, who had remained standing. Xiao Yan and the rest stood up after the ray of light withdrew from their bodies. All of them were startled upon seeing this scene. Lucky fellow, you are indeed the most suitable. Zhu Kuan's expression was a little complicated. Back then, he had been greedy for the essence. This had resulted in him being trapped for thousands of years. It was unexpected that this thing had ended up choosing Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan, it looks like we can only rely on you. Xiao Yan looked at the light pillar which had covered him. His face was covered with a lost expression. Due to some unknown reason, he could vaguely sense that the do chi within his body had begun to fluctuate in a strange fashion. That feeling was as though it had met something of the same origin. It is heavenly flame do chi. Xiao Yan mused for a moment before his eyes flashed. He came to a sudden comprehension. The do chi within his body was tempered by the swallowing of many heavenly flames using the flame mantra. This kind of characteristic was similar to that of the Tu Shi ancient god. After all, the latter was a heavenly flame. It was not unbelievable for these to be such a feeling. Xiao Yang, it seems that the inheritance of the ancient god had chosen you. Ji Yuan looked at the light pillar that covered Xiao Yang and his eyes involuntarily felt a sense of lost. Even he was unable to maintain his calmness in front of the inheritance of the ancient god. After all, he had also been chasing after that level for thousands of years. However, Ji Yuan understood that he was unable to forcefully do anything about it. The inheritance of the ancient god would choose its own inheritor. All of them had clearly been eliminated during the selection by the light earlier. Moreover, Xiao Yang could be considered his son-in-law. It was not difficult for Ji Yuan to accept the former becoming an elite do di. Everyone revealed an expression of envy after hearing this. They began to cup their hands together and congratulate Xiao Yang. Although their tone was quite envious, there was a greater amount of joy in them. Regardless of who the ancient god inheritance selected, they would at the very least possess an opportunity to fight with Hunchendi. The word luck really leaves one speechless, Zhu Kuan sighed. He immediately said, since the ancient god inheritance had chosen you, you should just accept it. As long as you are able to advance to the Do Di class before Hunchendi, this calamity will naturally be resolved. Xiao Yan hesitated for a moment before nodding quietly. He was well aware of the current situation. Once Hunchendi successfully complete the final step of the Di tier embryonic pill, the Alliance would definitely suffer the most cruel form of vengeance. Given the character of the Hun clan, they would not feel any mercy even if they slaughtered an entire clan. Everyone please be rest assured that I, Xiao Yang, will definitely do my best. Xiao Yang cupped his hands together towards everyone and spoke in a deep voice. Ha ha, as for the Hun clan and Hunchendi, we will do our best to stop them. Hopefully, we will be able to hold out until you exit your retreat. Yang Jin laughed. I wish to keep this square into the heavenly tomb. I might be able to gain more time in that place. Xiao Yang mused for a moment before sweeping his eyes around him and said, the heavenly tomb, this is a good idea. The flow of time is slower in that place compared to the outside world. In this way, you will be able to gain some extra time. Ji Yuan nodded. Let's not waste any more time. I will act now. Xiao Yang worked with lightning-fast speed. After having decided on a plan, he waved his sleeve. A huge spatial crack appeared in the sky. After which, it spread apart and devoured the square and stone statue into it. Uncle Ji, if the Alliance was to be defeated and is unable to fight, please shatter this jade piece. I will immediately exit my retreat. Xiao Yang flicked his finger. A spiritual jade piece flew towards Ji Yuan. Ji Yuan nodded after receiving the spiritual jade piece. It was not impossible for such an event to occur. I will inform Zuna and the rest about this matter. Ji Yuan kept the piece of jade. His eyes stared at Xiao Yan as he softly said, everything is up to you. The expressions of Lei Ying and the rest were stern. They cupped their hands together solemnly as they faced Xiao Yang. If Xiao Yang succeeded, the situation would be turned around. If he failed, everyone here would likely be unable to escape being annihilated. Xiao Yan let out a deep breath as he looked at the many stern faces. He was indeed someone with a hard life. He had just rescued his father, only to end up with such a heavy mountain-like burden on his shoulder. However, he must not fail this time around. Xiao Yang quietly cupped his hands together towards everyone. He lifted his head and looked towards the incomparably large light cauldron in the distant sky. At the middle of the light cauldron was a spreading sea of blood. It appeared as though there was a human figure vaguely sitting at that spot. Hunchendi, next, let's see who will be the first to reach that stage. Xiao Yang's eyes were locked onto the sea of blood. he suddenly turned around and walked into the slowly shutting spatial crack. After which, his figure and the crack vanished. Xiao Yan and the rest looked at Xiao Yan's disappeared figure. His hands were involuntarily clenched. This subsequent period of time would test their ability. Hopefully, we will be able to hold out until Xiao Yan exit his retreat. Xiao Yan muttered to himself. Immediately, he quickly landed onto the large hall. Everyone hurriedly followed. Subsequently, many orders were being issued in an orderly manner. The enormous Alliance army was mobilized at this moment. A sea of blood scattered in the distant sky. That rich bloody scent filled the land. An extremely abundant energy filled the sea of blood. The middle of the sea of blood was a floating blood lotus. A figure with scattered hair sat on it. Vast and mighty endless energy continued to gather from the sea of blood and the surroundings. Finally, they surged into that figure. That human figure appeared like a bottomless pit in the face of the endless amount of energy. It allowed the vast and mighty energy, which could even fill an elite dosheng to the point of exploding, to pour wildly into it without showing the slightest trace of being full. The human figure with both eyes tightly shut on the blood lotus, suddenly opened his eyes after having detected something. Those eyes appeared to be filled with blood, causing one to tremble despite not feeling cold. This ripple. Hunchendi frowned slightly. He could detect a slight fear a moment earlier. However, that feeling had already vanished when he was about to carefully observe it. Was I mistaken? Hunchendi muttered to himself. The huge formation had enveloped the entire central plains. Even though he had already formed an initial merger within the DIT embryonic pill, he still felt a great amount of pressure. If it was not because the formation was maintained by the strong foundation of the Hun clan, it was likely that it would already cracked apart. He was unable to split his attention and observe those slight changes over the central plains due to the need for him to remain focused. Hunchendi muttered softly to himself. A fluctuation suddenly appeared behind him and a black flame person appeared. It was the Nihility devouring flame. How is the clan? Hunchendi did not turn around as he asked in a faint voice. Over 1 million descendant citizens had been thrown into the blood pool. However, it is still insufficient to maintain the formation. The Nihility devouring flame looked at the back. A flash appeared in his eyes. Originally, both he and Hunchendi were of equal status. However, after Hunchendi had obtained the D-tier embryonic pill, this relationship had become uneven. Nevertheless, he did not have any solution to this. All he could do was to continue enduring. Throw all the descendant citizens we have captured from the Ling, Zhe, and Yao clans into the blood pool. If it is still insufficient, throw our clan's descendant citizens into the blood pool. I require sufficient energy to complete the final step of completing this pill. Hunchendi spoke indifferently. Even our clan's descendant citizens has to be thrown into the blood pool. The Nihility devouring flame was startled as he said. That will lead to the objection of many elders. You should understand how to deal with those who objects. Hunchendi laughed faintly. The blood lotus was rotated. Immediately, those blood-covered eyes looked towards the Nihility devouring flame and softly said, You should understand that I will pay any price in order to successfully step into that level. Remember, it is any price. The Hun clan will definitely be destroyed if I fail. At that time, even you will have difficulty escaping. Black flames danced within the eyes of the Nihility devouring flame. Finally, he nodded. Relax, once I am able to advance into that level, I will also think of all ways for you to break through. Hunchendi laughed. However, you must also perform your task before that well. Understood. I will do as you say. The Nihility devouring flame nodded. After which, his body moved and he disappeared from the sea of blood. Hunchendi smiled in a satisfied manner as he looked at the spot where the Nihility devouring flame had disappeared. A faint strange expression flashed across his eyes. The Hun clan was able to survive until today because of the Nihility devouring flame. This was an extremely important matter to the entire Hun clan. In the hearts of many elders, they had even thought of the Nihility devouring flame as the most important person within the Hun clan. After all, as long as he existed, the Hun clan would not decline because of bloodline issues. From a certain point of view, even Hunchendi might not be as important as the nihility devouring flame in the hearts of certain members in the clan. This situation was naturally detected by Hunchendi. However, he had never spoke anything with regards to this. This was because he understood that the old Hun clan did indeed need to rely on the nihility devouring flame. However, this kind of reliance would disappear from now onwards. At that time, the nihility devouring flame would no longer be of any use. If I become a Dodi, I would need to refine a good life flame. Hunchendi laughed softly. Those blood-filled eyes appeared incomparably dark and cold. Immediately, the blood lotus was rotated. Both of his eyes were slowly shut as he continued to absorb the vast and mighty energy that was forcefully extracted from the central plains. An extremely faint black glow quietly flashed past the sea of blood as Hunchendi turned around. A tiny black fire seedling was quietly extinguished from the sea of blood. This scene had lasted for only a short moment. Additionally, it was hidden by the vast and mighty energy of the sea of blood. Even Hunchendi was unable to detect it. The nihility devouring flame, who had exited the Hun realm, looked at the hundreds of thousand feet large blood pool below him with a cold and indifferent expression. There was a continuous stream of people being thrown into it from around the blood pool. Miserable screech scattered across the sky. The nihility devouring flame watched this scene indifferently. The black flame over his finger suddenly flashed. Immediately, his body stiffened slightly. Both of his fists were slowly clenched. A densely cold expression flashed across his eyes. This video will end here.